Hi everyone, I shared this little Christmas tree decoration over on my shorts a couple of weeks ago. So today I'm going to show you how you can make it in a little bit more detail. It's super beginner friendly and it makes a really lovely tree decoration or gift for a loved one this Christmas. So let's get stitching. So all you need to make this is a 4-inch embroidery hoop prepped with your fabric, some embroidery thread, your photo, your needle and your scissors. So the first thing I'm going to do is lay the photo on top of the hoop, and then using my needle I'm going to mark 2 holes where the bow is going to go. So just pushing my needle through just as a little bit of a marker. There we go, that's the first one done, and then the second one, and then I'm going to do exactly the same here in the bottom corner. Now these are all marked up, I'm grabbing my embroidery thread. Now I've got a lovely festive red, this is DMC 666, and I'm going to use 6 strands, so I'm just going to cut myself off a piece. Now I've got my needle threaded and ready, but you don't need to knot the end this time. So what I'm going to do is just push my needle down through the fabric, leaving a tail of thread. And now I'm going to come up through my other marker, just pushing the needle back up through with the thread, leaving another tail. And I'm going to remove my needle now because I no longer need it. So I'm just going to lay it down. Now with the 2 tails, they're quite long at the moment, but I'm just going to make sure they're even in length. This just gives us a little bit more thread to play with for the bow. So I'm happy with this. So what I'm going to do is just start by tying the 2 ends to form the start of the bow. There we go. And now I'm going to loop the ends round into the shape of the bow. So just passing them through, keeping this nice and secure. Now, just for a little bit of extra security, the knot that forms the base of the bow, I'm actually going to tie as a double knot. But what I'm going to do is just make sure that that knot is nice and central between the 2 markers. Now I'm going to loop the 2 ends round to form the bow. Now, this is a very basic bow. It's nothing too fancy, but it looks really pretty and festive. So it's a little bit big at the moment, but what I'm going to do is just place a finger just on the middle of the bow and then pull the ends in so the loops are a bit more even in length. So I'm just giving it a little tidy as I go and making sure that bow shape is there, just giving them a little pull. There we go, I'm much happy with that, and I'm just going to give it a little tighten to make sure that bow shape holds. So now you can see we've got quite long tails, so I'm just going to give these a little chop just using my thread snippers. And here you can play around with the length. I'm going to go a little bit shorter so that it doesn't cover the photo too much. There we go, so that's our first little bow. So now I'm going to do exactly the same in the bottom left hand corner. So I've marked up on my fabric where the bow is going to go, and I'm just going to first push the needle down through the fabric and then push it back up through at the other marker, leaving the 2 tails. Here we go, so just removing my needle, and I'm going to lay it down just here on the table. Again, make sure my tails are even in length, that's going to give us a nice tidy bow. And now using the exact same method, I'm going to start by knotting the 2 tails and just keeping the knot nice and central between the markers. So I'm just going to double knot it as before. There we go, just for that extra security. And now I'm going to loop around the 2 tails to form the bow. Here we go, so we've got the bow shape. As before, it's a little bit too big. So again, I'm just going to loop around the ends, placing a finger on the center of the bow and just pulling the loops in to form a nice tidy bow. And exactly the same as before, as I adjust those loops, I'm just going to tighten it a little bit in the center. There we go, that's looking good. I'm happy with that. It matches that one in size nearly. Just adjust a tiny bit more. There we go, I'm happy with that. So again, I'm just going to grab my thread snippers and I'm just going to chop the tails so they are nice and tidy. Here we go, so we've got our 2 finished bows, so now it's time to back the hoop. So my fabric is already cut around in a circle, so I have got my needle ready with 6 strands of thread and I'm going to work running a stitch around this excess fabric. This is my favourite method, I use it for all of my hoops. It just gathers the fabric nicely on the back of the hoop. So here we go, this is what it looks like once you finish stitching around the edge. Now I'm going to lay this just down on the table and I'm going to gently pull the excess thread to gather in the fabric. Now that's all secure, I'm just going to loop around the thread in a knot to keep it nice and secure. For this, I'm a big fan of a double knot, just to keep those ends in place nicely. And now I'm just going to grab my thread snippers again and just give it a little chop for a nice tidy finish. So now the bows are all done, it is time to turn this into a tree decoration. So for this, I've got some red and white twine, which I'm going to loop through the hoop hardware. So I've cut myself off a piece. I'm going to start just by folding it over and I'm going to knot the ends together, and this is going to help hold it on the tree. There we go. And now with the other end, I'm going to loop it through the hoop hardware. So I'm just going to poke it through, so just looping it downwards. There we go. And then I'm going to loop through the other end, just like that. Oh, got a bit tangled. Here we go. So now the very last thing to do is to add our photo. So I'm going to slot it into the bottom bow first of all, and then pop it into the top corner. And just make sure it's nice and straight and make sure you're happy with the positioning of the bows as well. Here we go. So I'm really happy with that. It's all ready to be displayed on the tree. It's such a simple little craft, but it makes such a lovely gift for this time of year. Will you be giving this one a go? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching. Happy stitching.